to do tonight is move forward past where we have been putting our attention and our focus on, which has just been exploring the problem. Okay?
Yeah.
So we've done a couple of sessions on that. We'll always come back to it. But what I want to explore is, what do we do next? We've started to explore the problem. We've given a little bit of a spinny language. We've unsticked the mindset. So let's imagine, just for this call itself, we have a client in a position where they're looking at us very, very trance-like. You can see they can't talk properly. Their eyes are blinking a lot. You're seeing a lot of unconscious moment. You can tell that if you were just to nudge them, they'd fall down into that trance. Okay? So the thing I want to touch on now is something we call process instructions.
Okay.
What we want to look at is the next part is, as soon as we start to see these unconscious moments happening and they're building up to something bigger that we call trance, you've got a couple of choices on how you move to next. You can either keep your client's eyes open and continue to chat to them. Okay, that's one option. But tonight I want to look at process instructions. So a process instruction is two ways of doing it. You can be very overt, which is very obvious, or we can be very covert, which is more my choice.
Okay.
It's a lot more fun. I think it has a lot more impact. So let's look at a simple process instruction for a client just about going into trance. What could be a simple suggestion for them to close their eyes? What can we tell them just to do as a very overt process instruction?
Close your eyes is always the easiest one.
It's always the easiest one. All right. What else could we say?
Just think on that.
Excellent. Beautiful. That's even becoming a little bit covert at the same time, which I like. What's a very obvious instruction we can give them if we wanted them to close their eyes?
Other than close your eyes.
Other than close your eyes.
What would we say? In a moment. Can you go, your eyelids are getting heavy?
Yes, you can. Excellent. Very obvious. So we could say, that's it. And your eyelids are getting very heavy now, very heavy. They're going to close now. Or I wonder when they're going to close now. It's overt, it's obvious because we're saying things like close, eyes, now. So it's a very formal instruction. Okay. Let's get one more just to get a feel for them.
Another formal one.
Yeah, get another formal one just so we've got a couple to play with.
Okay. Close your eyes getting heavy. In a moment. Oh. I want to say in a moment you'll go into trance, but
brilliant.
Well, that would probably be covert. We're telling them what they're doing, you're giving them the process. Yeah, that's what I say. That one.
I think it's brilliant. You could even say, in a moment, your eyes will close and you'll go into trance. That's very obvious.
Yeah.
There's no mistake from that instruction. There's nothing they can get lost in, except maybe the trance bit if they've never experienced it before, but that'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
Okay? So, obvious process instructions work for some clients, and some clients it will not.
Yeah.
How do you know which one to use for which? Who knows? Right now, we can't see each other, so I'm giving you the shrug of the shoulders. Because there's nothing that we could really pinpoint that tells us this type of client needs this process. All you do is, if you want it to be very obvious, you throw it out. If it didn't work, you know to be less obvious next time.
Could you do something like, if someone was sat down in a chair and you say, right, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to like put both your feet on the floor.
Yes.
And then if they do that, then you go, right, so they can take commands. They can take instructions so you can do it covertly or overtly.
You can, so you can do that little test at the start. That's something Erickson would do. And Erickson would tell his clients to put their feet on the ground, put their hands in their lap, and he wouldn't continue until they did that. And it's not so much is they're taking their suggestion or they're taking the command, it's that he wants to take control of the conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so absolutely, that could be your test. But again, I don't want to rely on that.
No, the other one, I suppose, would be where you're doing it. If you're doing it in a pub, then you don't want to go close your eyes because people think you're stupid.
Yes, so the context has to allow it, absolutely.
Yeah.
So a context like a social setting or a meeting, something a bit more formal, would probably not allow the eye closure to exist inside that social circle, and you'll get a lot of pushback, okay? Yeah. Unless you formally set it up like that. So you could go into a bar or a club and say, hey, I'm a hypnotist. You then, just by saying that, set the context
Yes.
for that sort of thing to happen, because that's a preconceived idea for hypnosis, is the eyes will be closed, they'll feel really relaxed.
Yeah.
Okay, so absolutely. So you set the context. What I like to do is put a bit of pressure on my client, be very be very covert, and give them a very ambiguous instruction that they have to try and figure out what. I laugh when I say this. They have to try and figure what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm tying up that last bit of consciousness in trying to work out the process instruction. Okay, yeah. And the famous one-liner from Milton Erickson of "That's right" is a process instruction, a very covert process instruction.
Yeah.
Okay, so when he says "that's right," what's he talking about? What's right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. He could see their eyes twitch and he goes, "That's right." And they're thinking, "What? What's right?" He could see their finger twitch and he says, "That's right." He's talking to the unconscious moment that we've talked about many times before, but he's not being obvious and saying, "That's right, your hand can twitch." Now, he would in some cases. He was overt, covert, direct, indirect, all at the same time, I think, in some places where it's very hard to follow along with. But the idea of being very covert includes my client in the process instruction, and I always like that trance to sneak up on them. Okay, yeah. So let's take the eye closure again. We see our client's eyes shuddering a bit. We can say "that's right," and we can just stare at their eyes, which is a non-verbal cue that I'm talking about your eyes when I'm saying this.
Yeah.
And you'll say "that's right." You'll see your client sort of try and figure it out. And even while they're figuring it out, we know that's a sign of trance, so we say "that's right."
Yeah.
And you're just going to continue doing that. At some point, they will get the message. You might even blink on purpose a couple of times to give them a non-verbal cue.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got the "that's right" process instruction. What else could we say that lends itself towards being more covert as a process instruction? Just so we get a couple to play with.
I would probably go yes. Yes is a great word.
Yes.
Love it. Yes.
So you could say that very hypnotically, when their eyes are, blinking, you go, "That's yes." Yes, as if saying, "Yes, you're doing the right thing. Continue to do that." Absolutely.
What other ones can we have?
What else? Think about the movement of the eyes going down. Could you put that into a simple process instruction that's very covert without saying eyes?
Without saying deeper.
You could extend on deeper a bit more. You're on the right track. You'll often hear Darren Brown, which I'm sure you've heard of. He has his favourite process instruction that I've seen or I've heard him do many, many times. I think it's a brilliant one.
What do they use? Oh no, I'm going to hate it because I will know it. Darren Brown, come on, boys. What do you normally say?
It's very similar to "that's right."
Oh, that's right. No, it's not. Yeah, that's right. God, can't even think.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. We've still got 4 hours of
I like to think. I don't want to disturb this.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just a trance to learn, isn't it?
It is. What else? What else? What else? What was these?
Any ideas?
No, not the Darren Brown one. No, I'm lost.
Consider this. This is more of a frame. I'll just see how this sits with you. Just to say something as simple as "all the way now."
Oh yeah.
Okay, Darren Brown's favourite is all the way down deep now.
Oh, is it? All right.
So it's a bit overt and covert at the same time. And it sounds very familiar from an Ericksonian point of view, so it wouldn't surprise me if Erickson said it at one point. But my favourite is the all the way down. That's it, all the way down. And the client sort of looks at you and thinks, what are you talking about? All the way down what? That's it, all the way down now. As you're staring intently at their eyes, you see it blink. That's it, all the way down deep now. That's it, all the way. And you continue to coach the unconscious moment. Eventually, the unconscious mind is smart enough to pick up on the pattern that you're creating for it. Remember, the unconscious mind works in patterns.
Yeah.
That's why process instructions work. That's why deepening techniques work. That's why the law of association is present, because it picks up the pattern and continues to work through that pattern even when you've stopped talking about it. So you can see how saying something like, close your eyes and go into trance now, we could abstract that and just say all the way down now.
Yeah.
Allowing our client to consider what the hell we're talking about, what process we need them to do, and how to do it, when to do it, what it is. And that's what I like to include in the trance, because it adds that little extra bit of conscious confusion to tie up that last bit of intellect to allow them to do the process for them. Okay, so it's just a simple way to get eye closure. Now you can go back to the basics and use it, close your eyes now. You've seen myself in some of the seminars. I might say something like, do you realize there's a better way to get through your problem or think about this? And the client says, is there? And I go, yeah, do you want to know what it is? And they go, yeah, just close your eyes and think about it more deeply. So now I've given them a reason, other than just going to trance, for doing that. And that's very covert. And I'll try and bring that out in front of the students. But for more the advanced students, or the advanced trainings we have, we abstract that process instruction, just say that's it all the way.
Okay.
Or that's right, or something like that, depending on what frame you're in. Okay, so any questions on that? It's pretty simple.
No, that's pretty simple. That's good.
You're just getting the eye closure, and just to confirm, the eye closure does nothing for trance. All it does is get rid of distraction.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't believe in the whole fact that it deepens trance. It will in the fact by itself, but trance does that by itself, not the art of eye closure.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, that's just my theory, and it's just something that I stick by, but you're welcome to play around with that as you wish.
Yeah, no, I've heard that, if you closed your eyes, the client's only got one way to go.
That's a good way to look at it.
So they can only go inside.
Yes.
Because they can't go outside because you've shut that avenue off for them, so...
Yeah. And if you're looking in the context of, sitting in your office, you might have some maybe distracting pictures on the wall, or you might have a distracting office that they don't like the layout of, or something like that. And that just takes away that distraction, allows them to think about things properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, what do we do next? Once we've done that process instruction, what do we do next? Let's look at these in steps. We've explored the problem. We've got them to a point where we're unsticking the mind so it can't look at the problem the same anymore.
Yeah.
We've given them a process instruction. What should we do immediately after they accept the process instruction and abide to the process instruction? What should we do immediately next?
Probably congratulate them.
Yep. So how would you do that? Give me an example.
So you give them a, yeah, that's right, and then they close their eyes, and then you go, that's really good. So
Excellent.
you're almost telling them how well they're doing.
Yes.
Because you go, come on, you can do better than that.
Yes.
Then they like to pop out.
Absolutely. So that's the point where a client's going to think they need to still have their eyes open for trance, or they still think they need to be conversable through that part, and we've just got to say, no, your eyes have to be, keep your eyes closed, just go in now, you're doing a good job. But also as well, it's very respectful for the unconscious for us to go, that's it, thank you. Okay, more respect we have for the unconscious, the easier the session's going to be. So we could either thank it. There's other ways where we can just keep coaching the unconscious moment. The eyes are closed, you can see they're in trance, and you just keep going, that's it, all the way now. And they're thinking, but my eyes are closed. They're all the way now. And what that's going to do, it's a way to deepen the trance with just the process instruction. All the way down, it metaphor is to go down further. The unconscious mind will pick up on that and abide to that process instruction as well. Okay, so once they've picked up on that, what should we do immediately after that? So we've continued to talk, so to speak. We've congratulated the unconscious mind, or we've said that's right all the way down. So they're at a point where you can see they're in some sort of trance world. What could we do at that point?
I would start probably attaching therapy, but that might be too early.
No, I think you're in the right place for it.
Okay, cool.
Because this is the point where their unconscious mind is listening, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is the perfect time for therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's also a perfect time to chuck in a little pause every now and then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So something I prefer to do is when the client's gone into trance, and so that's right, all the way down, I can see they're still following that process instruction, is I'll just be quiet for maybe 10 or 15 seconds and let them get a feel for where they are. Let them get orientated to trance, so that way I'm not rushing things along too much and I'm not freaking them out too much. Okay? Yeah. Because right now you've taken them to a point where trance has taken over, and some clients are going to be thinking, oh my God, how did I get to this point? I can't get out of this. Because all you've done is talk. They have no idea when you started. There's nothing been really remotely hypnotic, even exploring the problem aside from a little bit of confusion language. And now they're sitting there with their eyes closed in front of a complete stranger. We just want to coach them through, like, yes, this is the right thing for you to do. So a little bit of a pause, let them coax in there, have that friendly, intense attitude. They'll pick up on that unconsciously because they're more susceptible to it. And that'll help strengthen that relationship in that trance as well. Okay? So we've got a couple of ways to do therapy. We can start telling stories at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. We can start getting some hypnotic phenomena starting to occur. So clients in trance, we say, how are you feeling right now? And they might say, oh, I feel really weird right now. And already that statement screams out for, what part of you feels weird? Well, my hands do. What do you mean your hands feel weird? They just feel really heavy. You mean your eyes are closed and your hands feel heavy? So you can start getting into that hypnotic phenomena thing.
Yeah.
Okay. The one we've looked at that in the past. The one I want to look at tonight is the overload principle.
Okay, cool.
I want to look at the overload principle in the version of therapy.
Okay.
Now, classically, what's the overload principle? What's your thoughts on the overload principle? What's the classic version of the overload principle? What do we do it for?
For me, is right. I've heard many things that it's overload principle is basically you give the conscious lots of information to process, and while it's busy processing that, and you've overloaded it, it either gives up or it sits there and processes it, and while it's processing it, you are then talking to it gives you a chance to talk to the unconscious.
Correct. Absolutely. 100%. So we're going to look at the classical way of the overload principle as a way to get someone into trance, right?
Yeah.
But they're already there, so we don't have to look at it classically. Let's look at it less classically and look at how we can overload the unconscious mind with different resources it could pick up on and coach it to start doing its job.
Okay.
Okay, so this is one of my personal favorites, something that I would piece together with my clients from all the information they gave me in the little chat, the little investigation we had at the start. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm reminding them of possible things we've talked about, solutions they might go for, not will, might, because remember, we're just saying in the unconscious mind essentially, hey, this is what I think you could do, but I know you could do better, but here's an idea of what this person wants. Can you find something that would fit you and them at the same time? We're not saying, hey, you have to do this. Okay? So we're overloading it with information after information after info, small metaphor, little pun, little saying. This is where Erickson would go wild and start his little jokes. He'd do word games, word association, word puns, and he'd overload his client's unconscious mind and essentially play with it. It's like he's playing with a child, and the more he plays with the child, the more the child engages and starts to have fun at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a story does that. Okay.
Yeah.
In the version of an overloading story, we look at something called stacking realities, where we might tell a simple story and stack so many ideas, characters, environments, scenes, expectations, events inside the story that all lead to the same destination. So let's say, for example, I remember we did our storytelling process. We looked at the ship that was on the water going to the docks. Do you remember that story you told me?
Good.
Excellent. So what I want to do now is how could we stack realities inside that little ship, that little story, from the ship that wasn't sure about going onto the water, to the water being very, very rough and the ship got scared, but then the ship mustered up its most courage and got to the dock safe and sound and became the mightiest ship around from that process. How could we stack realities or stack information inside that little story to give it the overload feel for therapy? Any ideas?
Describing 4 or 5